There are some super interesting geopolitics that have developed around the recent G7 meetings. There's going to be a lot of G7 talk today. And the obvious stuff remains obvious, right? I mean, Trump is incompetent. He's undiplomatic. He's ignorant. He is effectively a petulant child on the world stage. But you've got to sort of hand it to the guy. He's creating some pretty damn interesting scenarios. Now, as you know, Donald Trump abandoned the Iran nuclear deal. This was an Obama era deal. Iran abided by its rules. Trump never liked the deal. Trump has been wanting to abandon anything that has Barack Obama's name or signature on it. So Donald Trump bailed on that deal. And as expected, Iran immediately said, well, if you're out, we'll start doing nuclear research again. Why wouldn't we if we did nothing wrong and yet you are such an unreliable partner in treaties, the U.S. under Donald Trump, that you bail, we'll just go back to doing what's in our best interest. And Donald Trump said, well, hold on a second. We bailed on the deal, but you still have to abide by it because there are other European countries that are still in it. A very strange geopolitical attempt to sort of have your cake and eat it too. And I told you from day one, this is a disaster and it's completely short-sighted, very much like Donald Trump's China tariffs, as we're now seeing. But there's now something very interesting happening with Iran. Iran's foreign minister flew to Biarritz this weekend for the G7 sideline meetings, the meetings happening on the sidelines of the official G7. Iran's not part of the G7, but their foreign minister was there. And we've now learned that Iran's foreign minister met with his French counterpart, and French President Macron has now drawn a line in the sand saying, hold on a second, France, Britain, Germany, and Japan, we want to do diplomacy. We want to figure this thing out. The U.S. has bailed. Trump has completely abandoned a deal that Iran followed the rules of. But now France and the other three countries remaining are going to try to do diplomacy. They're going to try to convince Iran not to start violating the deal. And meanwhile, Emmanuel Macron and friends are going to push Donald Trump not to sanction Iran more and more and to put a de facto blockade on petroleum sales. This is France jumping in and effectively upstaging Donald Trump. What Macron is trying to do is fascinating because of the middleman position that he's created for himself and for France. On the one hand, he's looking to get Iran to do what it was that the deal successfully put in place anyway, and Iran stuck to for the duration that Donald Trump was in the deal, that the U.S. was in the deal, which is don't do nuclear development. On the other hand, Emmanuel Macron is saying, we'll be on your side, Iran. We, as the adults left in the deal, France, Germany, Britain, Japan, we will try to convince that petulant child, Donald Trump, to stop the sanctions and to stop the escalation against you. And I told you that this was happening with global climate change discussions, and it is, and I'll have a story about that for you on today's show. But the world is increasingly going around Trump, not just on climate change. They are seeing him as the petulant obstacle that you have to get around rather than work with. And it's not just with climate change. Here it's happening with foreign policy and geopolitics and nuclear proliferation, or trying to prevent the nuclear proliferation. Other people have figured it out. They don't actually need Trump to make things happen beyond just needing to placate Trump and get him out of the way, just enough to get Donald Trump out of the way. How out of place must Trump feel at these G7 things? Everybody else is educated and worldly and diplomatic. They listen to advisors. They listen to their intelligence experts. They understand geopolitics. And in comes Donald Trump, who cheats at golf and sexually harasses dozens of women. Trump maybe doesn't even realize how out of place he actually is. And good for Macron. He's doing the right thing here. He's doing what's in the best interests more broadly of not only the participants in the Iran nuclear deal, but quite frankly, of the world. Iran was abiding by the deal. You can have a broader conversation about if the U.S. gets to have nukes, why doesn't Iran get to have them? That's a conversation some in my audience want to have. And that's a perfectly reasonable conversation to have. To the extent that we had this deal, and to the extent that we don't want Iran to obtain nuclear weapons, which I don't, and I'm glad to talk about that further if the reasons why aren't obvious, But they were abiding by the deal. They were doing their part, and Donald Trump willy-nilly said, we're out. Good for Macron. Let's now talk about the fiasco that was Trump at the G7 related to climate change, completely predictably.